In this video, I want to go over a common problem with waterproofing an area like this where you are going to put a porch and a set of stairs and the siding, and how the process sometimes happens when it shouldn't. And this would be basically getting the cart before the horse, and we see a lot of this in construction. Now here's the waterproofing, and this right here would be the building paper. A lot of you might use Tyvek or a building paper to protect the framing from the siding. I just kind of wanted to give you an idea that the paper or the protective layer that goes behind the siding but over the wood framing needs to lap over the waterproofing a minimum of an inch. I'd like to see it about 2 or 3 inches myself, but I think the building code is an inch. You'd need to verify that with your local building department. If not, just let it go down about 5 inches and you'd be okay. Here's a picture of the concrete stairway with the siding, and what I'm going to show you here is something I do not recommend, yet I've seen it. It's just an easy way for builders to do this without doing it correctly. And that, of course, would be to have the siding run behind the stairs. And a lot of times there is going to be a gap. I went ahead and drew something here. Concrete expands and contracts. It expands when it's wet and contracts when it's dry. It's not uncommon to have concrete. It's strong enough to push the building apart a little bit. And then when it shrinks, it leaves a little gap. And this gap would be a gap that would provide you with an avenue for more water. And it's not uncommon. And as a matter of fact, the individual who sent me the picture that inspired this video, who was asking these questions, actually caulked along this corner. They figured, why should they let the water that gets on the siding go onto the, go in between this gap here? So why not fill it up? And it's not a bad idea, except you're trapping the water. You still have a problem of the water that gets behind the siding and goes all the way down. And that would be something like this. If you have the paper lapping over the waterproofing, and any moisture that gets behind the siding is going to roll off of the paper onto the waterproofing and down. And it could create a problem here, especially for the siding. If you can remember, the stairway was something like this high, let's say, went out like this. The water that does get behind the paper, behind the siding, but in front of the paper and drain down, or if you haven't sealed the gap, if there is one, with any caulking, then any moisture that gets down here is going to hang around for a long period of time, especially if it's a colder climate or you're in an area, your porch or the area you're pouring the concrete over is in the shade. It's going to last for a considerable time. The moisture will actually absorb into the concrete. It'll come up. I've seen it pull. I've seen concrete and stucco pull moisture up at least 3 feet. So I'm sure it's pulled it up even higher. But this is just my personal observation. I've seen it. It's not uncommon to have the concrete pull the water up and then keep the entire area moist, which of course is going to lead to rot. And of course, who knows how much of this area is going to be rotted. Now, if the waterproofing stays intact and it just rots this area out, you could probably take a saw and cut the area here and do some work with it and just leave the damaged stuff underneath. But again, I don't know, because this could create mold problems also. So anyway, this ought to give you an idea of the reason why you do not run the siding down. In the next video, and I'll put a link here, I will show you how to do it, or at least one method of doing it correctly.